Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Castle Rock Retirement Foundation's podcast. I'm Kendra Rome with Castle Rock Retirement Consultants, and I'm glad that you're here. My goal with this podcast is simple. Every week, I want to help make retirement easier to understand. There is so much financial information available today. You can turn on the television, scroll through social media, listen to a podcast, or open your email and receive completely different opinions about what you should be doing with your money. One person tells you to stay invested. Another tells you to move everything somewhere safe. Someone else tells you that you need a certain amount of money before you can even think about retiring. It can feel overwhelming, and sometimes the information is even contradictory. This podcast is not about chasing the latest investment trend. It's not about trying to predict what the stock market will do next week, and it is not about convincing you that there is one perfect financial solution for every person. Instead, we're going to focus on the foundations of retirement. We will talk about the principles that can help you feel more confident, more organized, and better prepared for the future. Over the next several weeks, we're going to discuss retirement income, Social Security, inflation, market risk, taxes, healthcare, longevity, and the importance of having a plan that can adapt as your life changes. Today's topic is one of my favorites because it affects nearly everyone preparing for retirement. We are going to talk about the foundations of a confident retirement. What actually creates retirement confidence? Is it reaching a certain account balance? Is it earning the highest possible return? Is it predicting exactly what the market will do? Or does retirement confidence come from something deeper? Let's dive in. Segment 1. Retirement is not just about saving money. When people think about retirement, the first question they usually ask is, have I saved enough? That is an important question, but it is not the only question. In fact, you have a significant amount of money saved and still feel uncertain about retirement. One thing I have learned over the years is that retirement is not simply about building wealth. It is also about learning how to use what you have built. Think about your working years. Throughout most of your career, the focus is on accumulation. You receive a paycheck. You pay your bills. You contribute to your 401k, an IRA, or another retirement account. You may put money into savings, invest through your employer, or build equity in your home. The goal during those years is fairly straightforward. Work, save, invest, and grow your financial resources. But when you retire, the entire direction of your financial life changes. You are no longer asking, how much can I save this month? Instead, you begin asking, how do I turn what I've saved into dependable income? How much can I safely withdraw? What happens if the market falls short after I retire? How will inflation affect my spending? What happens if I live longer than I expected? How do I coordinate Social Security with my other income? Those are completely different questions. Saving money and distributing money require two different skill sets. Imagine climbing a mountain. During your working years, you are climbing towards the summit. You are trying to accumulate resources and reach your retirement goal. But reaching the top is only part of the journey. You still have to get safely down the other side. The strategies that help you climb the mountain may not be the same strategies you need during the descent. That is one of the biggest changes people experience as they move from working into their retirement years. For years, you have been more comfortable watching your accounts rise and fall because you were still receiving a paycheck. You had time to wait for the market to recover. Once retirement begins, those same accounts may need to help pay your mortgage, groceries, utilities, insurance, travel, and everyday living expenses. The money now has a different job. It is no longer there only to grow. Some of it you may need to create income. Some may be needed to remain available for emergencies, and some may be positioned for future growth, and some may eventually be left to your family. Each part of your money can have a different purpose, and it should. I've met people with modest retirement savings who felt confident because they understood their plan and knew how their monthly expenses could be covered. I have also met people with substantial savings who worried constantly because they didn't know how much they could spend, where their income would come from, or how their accounts worked together. Confidence is not always connected to the size of your account balance. Very often, confidence comes from understanding. It comes from knowing what you own, why you own it, what job each account is supposed to perform, and how your income will support the life you want to live. Segment 2. Retirement planning begins with income. For most people, retirement is not really a date. It is an income decision. You may have a particular age in mind. Perhaps you want to retire at 62, 65, 67, or maybe even 70, or sometime after that. But the more important question is, when can I replace enough of my paycheck to support the lifestyle that I want? During your working years, a paycheck arrives on a regular schedule. You know approximately what will be deposited into your account. You use that income to pay for your essentials, your expenses, and things that make life enjoyable. When you retire, the need for a paycheck does not disappear. The source of a paycheck changes. That is why one of the first steps in retirement planning is discerning how much monthly income you will need. I like to separate retirement expenses into two general categories. The first category is your essential income need. These are the expenses that continue whether the stock market is up or down. They may include things like your housing, whether that's taxes, insurance, or an actual mortgage, healthcare, taxes, and other basic household expenses. The second category is your discretionary income need. These are the things that make retirement enjoyable. Things like travel, your hobbies, golf, crocheting, dining out, spending time with your children and your grandchildren, home improvements, camping, crafting, attending family events, or simply having enough flexibility to enjoy your time without feeling anxious about every purchase. Both categories matter. Retirement should not be reduced to merely paying the bills. Most people also want the freedom to enjoy the words they work so hard to reach. A confident retirement plan starts by asking questions like this. How much income do I need to cover the essentials? Then, how much additional income would allow me to enjoy retirement? Once those numbers are clearer, the planning process becomes much more meaningful. Instead of discussing an abstract account balance, you can begin connecting your financial resources to your real life. For example, imagine someone says, I have $700,000 saved for retirement. That sounds like a significant amount of money, but by itself, that number does not tell us whether the person is prepared. We still need to know how much income will Social Security provide. Does this person have a pension? What are their monthly expenses? Do they have any debts? How much of their savings is exposed to market fluctuations? How much income will need to come from those accounts? What taxes may be owed when money is withdrawn? Does the person want to leave an inheritance? How long would the money need to last? The account balance is important, but the income plan gives the balance context. The goal is not simply to retire with a pile of money. The goal is to create a strategy that helps your resources support you throughout retirement. Segment 3, where retirement income comes from. One of the biggest misconceptions I hear is that retirement income comes from one place. In reality, most retirees receive income from several different sources. For many people, Social Security provides the foundation. For some, they have a pension that provides that foundation. Others rely on retirement accounts, such as a 401k, a 403b, IRA, or a Roth. Some people have personal savings, CDs, investment accounts, business income. The important thing is not having every possible income source. The important thing is undertaking how your available sources work together. I like to compare retirement income to a table. A sturdy table does not stand on one leg. It works together with several legs to support itself. Your retirement income often works the same way. One leg may be Social Security, another a pension, income created from your retirement savings. Another may be part-time work, rental income, or another dependable resource. Each income source has a role. The stronger and more coordinated those income sources are, the more stable the overall retirement plan may feel. Social Security is essentially important because it may provide income for the rest of your life. It also includes certain inflation adjustments, although those adjustments may not keep up with every expense a retiree experiences. The decision about when to claim Social Security may affect the monthly amount you receive. For married couples, it can affect the income available to the surviving spouse. That is why Social Security should not always be viewed as an isolated decision. It should be coordinated with your other retirement income, your health, your family history, your tax situation, and the resources available to support you while you wait. Your retirement accounts also have different characteristics. Traditional retirement accounts may provide tax-deferred growth, but withdrawals are generally taxable. Roth accounts may offer tax-free qualified withdrawals. Personal savings may be more readily accessible, but may not provide enough growth to keep up with inflation over a long retirement. Market-based accounts may offer growth potential, but their value can fluctuate. The question is not necessarily which one is best. The better question is, what job does each part of my money need to perform? Money needed for next month's bills has a different job than the money you may need for 15 years. Emergency savings has a different job than legacy funds. When another account is treated exactly the same, it can become difficult to know where to take the money from and how much risk is appropriate. When each account has a clearly defined purpose, the plan becomes easier to understand. Segment 4. Retirement risks are connected. A confident retirement plan also recognizes that retirees face more than one kind of risk. Market risk receives a lot of attention, but it is only one part of the picture. There is inflation risk. There is longevity risk, which is a risk multiplier, the number one risk in retirement. There is healthcare risk. There is also tax risk. There is risk of losing a spouse or having household income changes. There is also sequence of returns risk. Sequence of return risk may sound complicated, but the basic idea is fairly simple. The timing of market losses can matter just as much as the average return. Suppose two people retire with the same amount of money. Over the next 20 years, they experience the same average investment return. But one person experiences strong market years at the beginning of retirement and weaker years later. The other person experiences significant losses during the first few years, while also withdrawing money for living expenses. Even though their long-term average returns may be similar, they may have very different outcomes. Why? Because withdrawing money from an account while its value is down can make recovery more difficult. You're no longer waiting for the entire account to rebound. You are selling or withdrawing from a smaller balance to pay current expenses, or required minimum distributions when the time comes. This does not mean retirees should avoid the market entirely. Growth may still be important, especially when retirement could last 20 or 30 years. It means the plan should consider where income will come from during difficult market periods. A thoughtful retirement strategy does not attempt to eliminate every possible risk. That would be nearly impossible. Instead, it asks, which risks can I accept? Which risks can I reduce? And which risks can I transfer? And last, which risks do I need to prepare for? These are important conversations because different people have different priorities. Some people are comfortable with market movement as long as their essential expenses are covered. Others become extremely anxious when an account value declines. Some may maximize the amount left to children. Others are primarily concerned about making sure they never become financially dependent on their children. There is not one correct answer for everyone. A good plan should reflect the individual or family it was created to serve. Segment 5, Organization creates confidence. If I could encourage everyone listening to do just one thing this week, it would be this. Take some time to organize your financial life. Over the years, it is common to accumulate accounts from different employers, retirement plans, savings accounts, insurance policies, and investments. You may have a 401k from a former employer. You may have an IRA that you opened years ago. You may have an old life insurance policy in a filing cabinet. You may have several bank accounts, CDs, or investment statements arriving at different times. Eventually, the pieces can become scattered across several companies and locations. Sometimes, people are not even sure exactly what they own anymore. Organization is not exciting. It does not make headlines, but it can make an incredible difference in how confident you feel. Start by making a simple list. Write down each account, the company holding it, the approximate balance, and how it is invested, and who's listed as the beneficiary. Gather your Social Security information. Locate any pension estimates that you may have. Review your life insurance policies. Make a list of your monthly expenses, your wants, and your needs. Identify all of your debts. Collect your estate planning documents, including your will, powers of attorney, healthcare directives, and trust documents, if you have them. Then ask yourself, do I know where all my retirement accounts are? Do I understand the purpose of each one? Are my beneficiary designations current? Would my spouse know where everything is? Could my children or another trusted person locate the important documents if something were to happen to both of us? And does someone know who to contact? These questions may not seem like traditional retirement planning questions, but they matter. Imagine a married couple where one spouse has always handled the finances. That person knows how the bills are paid, where the accounts are located, and who the financial contacts are. The other spouse may know very little about the day-to-day details. If something happens to the spouse who manages everything, the surviving spouse is suddenly grieving while also trying to understand an unfamiliar financial situation. Organization is one way of caring for the people you love. Sometimes simply organizing your information creates peace of mind before you change a single investment. It can also reveal gaps that may arise in the future. You may discover an outdated beneficiary. You may find an account you'd forgotten about. You may realize that too much money is concentrated in one place. You may discover that you do not have enough readily available emergency savings. Or you may realize that you are actually in a stronger position than you thought. Clarity begins with knowing where you stand. Segment 6. Retirement is not about predicting the future. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about retirement planning is that someone has to predict the future. People sometimes believe they need to know exactly what the market will do, where interest rates are going, what inflation will be, and what tax laws will look like 10 years from now. The truth is, none of us know exactly what tomorrow will bring. We do not know what the market will do next year. We do not know what inflation will be 5 years from now. We don't even know every healthcare expense we may face. We don't know exactly how long we will live. We do not know whether our retirement plans will be interrupted by a family need, a home repair, or any other unexpected event. Good retirement planning is not about making perfect predictions. It's about preparing for uncertainty. Think about the way you prepare for a road trip. You may know your destination, and you may have a preferred route. But you also know there could be traffic, road construction, weather, or a detour. A good travel plan does not require you to predict every obstacle ahead. It gives you enough direction, fuel, and flexibility to adjust when something changes. Retirement planning works in a similar way. Instead of asking questions like, can I predict a future? A better question is my plan flexible enough to adapt as life changes? Do I have money available for those emergencies? Do I have income sources that I understand? Am I relying too heavily on one account or one assumption? What happens if inflation is higher than I expected? What happens if one spouse dies first? What happens if I need additional care later in my life? What happens if the market falls during the first few years of my retirement? A retirement plan should not be created once and placed on a shelf. It should be reviewed as your life changes. Retirement itself often happens in stages. The early years may include more travel, recreation, and activity. The middle years may be a little quieter, and the later years may involve more health care and support needed from family and friends. Your spending, priorities, and income needs may change throughout these stages. A flexible plan recognizes those changes instead of assuming every year of retirement will look exactly the same. Segment 7. Confidence comes from knowing where you stand. One of my favorite sayings is, clarity creates confidence. When you know where your accounts are and what each account is designated to do, decisions become easier. When you understand your goals, priorities, and concerns, decisions become easier. Confidence does not mean you know exactly what the future holds. It does not mean your account values never fluctuate. It does not mean your plan will never need to change. Confidence means you understand your current situation well enough to make thoughtful decisions moving forward. It means you have moved from guessing to planning. It means you answered questions such as, how much does it cost me to live each month? How much income will Social Security provide? How much of my essential income is already covered? How much will need to come from my savings? Which accounts are intended for income? Which accounts are intended for growth? How much risk am I comfortable accepting? What would happen financially if I lost my spouse? And who knows where my important documents are? You may not have every answer today, and that is okay. The purpose of retirement planning is not to make you feel badly about what you have not done. It's to help you identify the next step. Maybe your next step is gathering your statements. Maybe it's creating a realistic budget. Maybe it is reviewing your Social Security options. Maybe it's talking with your spouse about what you each want retirement to look like. Maybe it's updating your beneficiaries. Maybe it's getting a second look at how your current plan is organized. Progress often begins with one small, manageable step. In closing, as we wrap up today's episode, I'd like to leave you with 3 simple thoughts. First, retirement is about much more than simply accumulating money. Saving is important, but eventually your savings may need to help replace the paycheck you received during your working years. Understanding how that transition will happen is an important part of your retirement preparation. Second, organizing creates clarity, and clarity helps build confidence. Knowing what you own, where it is located, what purpose it serves, and how it fits into your overall plan can provide tremendous peace of mind. And finally, you do not need to have every answer today. Retirement planning is a journey. Every step you take towards understanding your income, expenses, accounts, risks, and goals is a step towards greater confidence. Here's a simple exercise you can complete before our next episode. Take a piece of paper and create 3 columns. In the first column, list the dependable income you expect to receive in retirement, such as Social Security or a pension. In the second column, list your retirement accounts, savings, and other retirement resources. In your third column, write down your estimated monthly expenses. Do not worry about making it perfect. The purpose of this exercise is simply to begin creating a clearer picture of where you stand. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Next week, we're going to explore a topic that many people overlook: how retirement income really works. We will discuss the transition from receiving an employee paycheck to creating a retirement paycheck, how different income sources can work together, and why income planning is about more than choosing a withdrawal percentage. Clarity creates confidence. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time.